You are listening to a podcast created by the Minnesota Alliance for Geographic Education. Our mission is to help you understand your world better through geography. Today's geography topic is population pyramids. What are they? What do they look like? And what do they tell you about a country? Our presenter is Sharon Shellerud. Sharon is a longtime MAGE member, a teacher of AP and Human Geography at Metcalf Junior High in Burnsville, Minnesota. Sharon was Burnsville's Teacher of the Year and a Minnesota Teacher of the Year finalist in 2012. In addition, Sharon is also an adjunct professor at Augsburg College. This podcast is directed at junior high and high school geography teachers and may help them address some of the Minnesota geography standards. Specifically, this podcast addresses standard codes 93353, which is a geographic skill allowing students to compare the population characteristics of places at a range of scales using population pyramids, birth and death rates, and other key demographic variables. This podcast contains visuals which are very useful but may not be visible on all devices and internet browsers. I am Fred Kunze, a member of the Minnesota Alliance for Geographic Education. Sharon, as a geographer, I'd like to have you help me with this question that when you study a country, we study the mountains and the rivers and the lakes and that kind of thing, but geography is also about people, and you can compare one country to another in terms of their people, their population. Is one country older or younger than another, and it has more or less females or males, and it's nice to have that kind of thing, and sometimes you can travel to that country and actually get that feel. Is there something in geography that geographers use to get that better than just traveling to a country and looking around?
There's really a very simple way to do that, and it's that simply by looking at population pyramids. Population pyramids give you a very quick visual, an idea of how many males there are, females there are, and the general age groups in a country.
So a population pyramid, now does that mean that this actually looks like a pyramid, this thing we're looking at?
Well, some do, but they all pretty much start they'll end up looking like some kind of geometric shape. If you have a lot of children being born and not as many older people, then you do get that pyramid shape. But not all countries are like that because they all have a different flavor, if you will.
So a geographer figures out how many people are born in any maybe 5-year period and whether they're male or female, and then kind of makes a bar graph out of that, and then does that for each age group as people get older. Is that the idea?
That's exactly the idea. Yep. You put males on one side, females on the other. You kind of do, like I call it, a sideways bar graph. You find out the percent of males and females at various age groups. A common one is 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and so on. And then you simply find that percentage on your male side of the piece of paper, and you draw a line over there, bring it back up, and then you just color in the bar.
Well, it actually sounds kind of like fun.
It is. And then you use one color for male and you use a second color for female, so it's much easier for your eyes to tell the difference and make some analysis of it.
So as a student, I want to compare 3 or 4 or 5 different countries. If I found the population pyramids for each country and had them in front of me, those shapes of those pyramids would tell me a lot about the people in those various countries.
Yep, it would tell you if you live in a country that's having a population explosion or a high growth rate. It could tell you if you're living in a country where there's a lot of disease or poor nutrition because people aren't living very long.
Let's take one like that. A country that is not very much developed. They have lots of babies being born, but they also have lots of people dying at a fairly early age. So that population pyramid would look like a broad base, and then what? And
then like a kind of a chimney coming out of it. There aren't very many countries like that anymore, but there were if you go back to the 1980s and 90s in some sub-Saharan African countries. But they are fixing that. See, those are becoming more and more rare to see.
Now, as a teacher of geography, you use these in your class, I'm sure.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
Can you kind of describe very much in a nutshell How would you use a population pyramid in a lesson? What kind of thing would you do?
First off, once students can just know how to make them and can analyze them, then it's really fun to give them different shapes and not your standard triangle and rectangle, but kind of put some little realities in there and have them match it up with places around the world or places in the United States. Because even in our country, you'll see there are states that have a much younger population, and some states are very heavy on the elderly population. And that really helps the kids get that visual. And then the big question is, why is it that way? And then you can start really talking geography.
The big geography questions. Why do these shapes differ, and what does that mean?
Exactly.
Well, that sounds like a very important thing to include in almost any geography class. And so in summary, the first thing you would do is to teach the kids the real basics about what a population pyramid is and how to make some, maybe even from a mythical country with some simple data.
Yeah.
And then go from there to start looking at real ones. And I assume there are many of these population pyramids already in existence for almost all countries on the internet, so this could be looked up.
Yep, there's a great website. Nation Master has population periods for, I think, almost every country in the world from 1990 to 2050, so you can even do some predictions. The other place that has some really good one is a website. It's called Population Connection, and they've developed some excellent lessons on how kids actually make them and give you the data, so you don't have to go looking that data up yourself.
Well, that's very good. I'm very excited. I hope that a lot of teachers will give it a shot, and I think they'll understand countries better by using population pyramids. You have been listening to a production of the Minnesota Alliance for Geographic Education. Background music is courtesy of Jim Hogue of Decorah, Iowa. The Minnesota Alliance is a nonprofit group of educators and other parties who are interested in promoting an enhanced understanding of our world through improved geographic literacy.